It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. In this video, we'll be talking about some intriguing statements made by the cast and crew that have given fans a glimpse of what to expect in the new season of The Last of Us, which is Season 2, which obviously adapts a portion of The Last of Us Part 2. Obviously, spoiler alert if you haven't played part 2 of the game, because in this video there will be some pretty big spoilers as far as the story of part 2, so stay tuned. We'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So like I said, there's been some interviews done by the cast and crew, particularly Craig Mazin, the showrunner, Pedro Pascal, who of course played Joel, and also Bella Ramsey, who played Ellie, when speaking about Season 2, which is going to adapt some of the story from Part 2 of The Last of Us video game. First, let's talk about Pedro Pascal's statement on Joel. In an interview, he said it wouldn't make sense to follow the first game so faithfully only to stray severely from the path. That's my honest answer. This statement obviously hints at the fact that the show will probably stay true to the original game's storyline, and this pretty much lines up with what I've predicted so far. I think they're gonna keep the storyline or the plot, as far as the main plot is concerned, the same, and they're only gonna move away from the main storyline in some aspects and expand on certain things, but they're not gonna change the main story. This is great news for fans who loved the game, particularly part 2, but obviously concerns fans who weren't a fan or a big fan of part 2, particularly when it comes to how they handled Joel's story and what happened to him in the story of part 2. And like I've said many times, based on what they did in part 1, it's pretty obvious that they're gonna keep the story the same as far as part 2. They're gonna have Joel die in some way by the hands of Abby, the doctor's daughter. Now, the way that that comes together may change. He might be killed in a different way. They might not kill him right away, or they might expand on this story in such a way where his death is more timely and his death is more impactful and for all of the right reasons. But at the end of the day, I don't think that they're gonna have Joel survive. And that's exactly what Pedro Pascal is getting at, in my opinion. Next, Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, has made some statements, some interesting comments actually, when asked about the emotional toll of the show. She said if that does take place in the show, and obviously she's referring to Joel's death, she says, I don't know that I'm emotionally ready for it. This obviously hints that there will be some intense and emotional scene in the upcoming season, which is definitely in line with what we've been hearing so far. Now, the other aspect of it is, does she even know what they're gonna do? And I don't know if she does. I'm sure they've given her some idea in terms of the direction that the story is gonna go, but I don't think that she knows if they're gonna do the Abby scene the same way, or if they're gonna change it or anything like that. Moving on to showrunner Craig Mazin, who has been very tight-lipped about the show's plot, but he has made it clear that he's not afraid to kill off characters. Again, this obviously refers to Joel or relates to Joel. In an interview, he said, this should be fairly obvious to anyone by now, but I don't fear killing characters. But the important thing to note is that neither Neil Druckmann, the showrunner and the creator of the game, nor I feel constrained by the source material. This statement obviously suggests that the show's creators are not afraid to take creative liberties with the source material, and may include some unexpected plot twists. But, like I said, at the end of the day, this doesn't mean they're gonna change things drastically. This just means that they're gonna tweak the story in such a way where the plot works better for TV and it just has the right level of impact for the audience. And as part of that, that obviously means they're gonna fix things that they agree they did wrong in the video game. I'm referring to Neil Druckmann, obviously. So if he agrees and honestly believes that fans were right, then I'm sure he's not gonna do the same thing. He's gonna change it so that it fixes the mistake or fixes the shortcomings that the story had in part 2. In conclusion, the statements made by the cast and crew of The Last of Us Season 2 have given us some intriguing hints about what to expect. The show seems to be staying true to the original game's storyline, much like the first season, which was the first game, while also exploring some new and unexpected directions and obviously expanding on certain things, fixing certain things in the story, and so on. And I think fans should be prepared for some emotional and intense scenes that will keep them on the edge of their seats, like we saw in part 2 when it comes to Joel's story and his interactions with Abby. But at the same time, they should expect, in my opinion, some changes to the story where it fits and where it makes sense. And hopefully, all of these changes and tweaks will be for the better in a way that satisfies fans that weren't a big fan of part 2 of the game and how Joel's story was handled. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I wanted to share in this video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm intrigued to know your thoughts and opinions, so share that in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.